we have a speaker this evening, and I'll try to get out of his way as soon as possible. So, but I'd like to say something about the Amiga community, which is an Amiga community full of possibilities. This is the most creative group of people that I've ever run into. And all of you have a stake in this, and everybody has something to contribute here, and has done so. Which is really kind of outside the box as far as computer platforms are concerned. You know, most of those things are, you know, done by huge companies with billions of dollars in resources and, you know, silly marketing and things of that nature. And we don't do that. It would be nice to have the billions of resources. That'd be great. And if any of you have that, please contact us.
Start a company.
Yeah, there you go. Start a company is right. But that creative potential is what has been realized, you know, since Commodore went belly up in what, 1994? Yeah. And I thought it was kind of, you know, one of the things I learned about Jens Schoenfeld was, you know, he had the guts to actually found a company in 1994 making peripherals for Amigas. The same year the company went bankrupt, which is kind of crazy. And he's still doing it. So this community, this group of people who contributes to this is, you know, very, very interesting and very, very unique. Now I know that's an oxymoron. Unique means very, doesn't it? Yeah, well, I'll try not to go there. But we have, you know, development that continues. We have, you know, new software being written, new hardware being created. I just bought part of that. I just bought a 600 GS today, because I thought it would do what I wanted it to do. So this is all very intriguing, and one of the people who's been in the forefront of the intriguing part is our speaker this evening. Now, I know that most of you know him on many levels, and we really appreciate, you know, what Trevor Dickinson has done for our community and continues to do for our community. I know it's not just a hobby with you, it's a passion. And I think it is the same for all of the rest of us. So come talk to us about what an Amiga is in 2024.
When you said creative, immediately came to my mind was crazy as well.
Of course.
I'm sure that's what your wife says.
When Bill asked me to do this presentation, I got the 3 volumes of Vultures to Vampires, and I wrote a really long speech. And I thought, that's stupid. You don't want to hear a really long speech, and we'd like to get to the drinks afterwards. But, you know, way back in 2010, I was asked the same question, and I wrote an article for Amiga Future magazine. But I think...
Who's that?
Back in 2013, I was in Calgary, staying with Steve and his family. I had a muck meeting, the Amiga users of Calgary, and their 5-year-old son Harrison was drawing. So he drew a rainbow. It's really nice. Then he drew a boing ball. Really good. I said, Harrison, what's that? And, you know, a reply that only a bright, sarcastic 5-year-old could do. He said, it's my dad's Amiga world. Actually, he's turned into a really nice kid, and he may not have the Amiga addiction his dad had, but at least he knows all about it, right?
Yes.
Right. So we're asking, it was an Amiga in 2004. Shameless plug, right? When I was writing, I've done a lot of writing and research on Amigas over the years, and I've written for Amiga Future, Total Amiga and Amiga Future magazine about one about the history of Commodore's Amigas, what happened to the company after Commodore went bust, about the key people and companies that contributed to the Amiga's success, and what happened to him after Commodore went bust. Some fascinating stories. I thought I knew everything about the Amiga. I thought no one knows more than me. Then I started researching it. Thankfully, or unthankfully, it was COVID, but thankfully I had time to do it. So when I researched, I found so much more information. Yeah, I was really, really impressed that you know, everyone thinks outside the Amiga community that the Amiga is a footnote in the history, multitasking. That's it. And that we're all Macs and actually we're all PCs, Macs, and a few other things. When I was writing the trilogy, I came to realize that just like the old Monty Python, we're not dead yet, right? In fact, we're very much still alive, okay? I'm getting better. But to many Amigans, there can be only one. It's a classic Amiga with a 68K CPU, curated by Commodore, running Amiga OS. And that's it. There's the classic Amiga OS family. And, you know, it's quite funny because, you know, that's where a true Amiga purist feels. And there's no doubt we have kept our Amigas alive. This was an Amiga I saw at Ami Party in Poland. Super Bonio's A4000 tower. It had everything in it. I mean, it really was fantastic. I don't think I've seen a better tower. Now there's a challenge, right? I'm sure there's a challenge.
Make a better tower.
But you know, what was it set? What set the Amiga apart? Why are we still here? Well, one, we're crazy. We know that, right? Two, most of us are all white males, as we found out last night, right? If you were here last night, or this morning, you'll know about it, right? I apologise to the lovely ladies in the room, but that was a comment made back in 1998. Yeah, well, and I can see some of the founders have been here for 28 years, so congratulations. So it's definitely not dead yet, right? And there's only one, apparently. But what's kept Amiga alive? What's kept Amiga 68K, Amiga OS alive? And it has to be said, it's software emulation. And the development of UAE back in, I'm trying to think what year that was. Back in 86, was it? 96, sorry. It was to prove that you could emulate the Amiga's custom chipsets with emulation, and no one thought you could do that. And they produced UAE, the unusable Amiga emulator, but then it improved, and the best one of all, and still developed probably, is WinUAE for Windows. But there are emulations for for everything really. UAE for all was another emulator that was created. But there's so many, right? So many out there. The thing is about, and I should have gone back on this because that's one I quite like. There's an old British sitcom, right, which says, I've only had this broom for 20 years. I've changed the head 15 times and the handle 14 times. But it's the same broom. So we classic Amigans tend to do that with our computers. Yeah. We have all manner of upgrades in there. I mean, and sometimes you even replace the motherboard. And my own Amiga 2000, my first Amiga, suffered death by Varta. So, so I have actually an Amiga 2000 that has a new case. I've replaced the motherboard. Is it the same machine? Well, of course it is.
Yeah.
In my mind it is. and we do add so many little additions to our Amigas. And you walk around the show and you see all these wonderful things being developed. I mean, it's amazing the stuff that's being developed. And it makes me really proud to be an Amigan, a crazy Amigan, right? So, because we had good emulation of the Amiga chipset, it led to workbench distributions. The first two early ones were Amiga in a box. Does anyone remember that? And then And then, what was the other one? Amiga in a Box, and I can't remember the name now. No, before that. Blood, which is Classic Amiga. So a Classic Amiga for Amigas. Amiga in a Box was for emulated Amigas. But that led to I call it Super Workbench distributions, and the first one was AmigaSys back in 2005. Followed quite soon by AmiKit, and we've got an AmiKit person here today. AmiKit was, while AmigaSys stopped development about 2012, it's been picked up again by AmigaKit. AmiKit, always confuses me this. It picked up again by AmigaKit and has been redeveloped. Whereas the AmiKit is still developed. The latest version is version 12. It's now a paid version, unfortunately, but the AmiKit 10 is still free and you can download it. Yep. So, and it is a really good system, really nice. If you want to try emulation on a PC, or a Mac, or wherever else it runs on now, a Vampire, it runs on a number of things. There was a AROS, which is not an Amiga operating system. It was AOS back in 2003. It became AROS in 2005 because of, I think it was Aaron Digula, if I can't pronounce his name right, but never mind. And it is a community effort of developers to create an alternative Amiga operating system, because at the time they were concerned that Commodore were going bust. They were right, I guess.
They were right.
Yeah. And they're worried that the future of the Amiga OS would disappear. So they kept working on Amiga OS. And over the years, the first one was AROS Max, which was a distribution, a bit like a Linux distribution, to show what the best of AROS could offer. Better ones, that's not fair to say that. More improved ones, VMware AROS, which is a really strange title, which was renamed Icarus Desktop, and that's still developed. The last one was out, I think, 2 years ago. There's others, Aspire OS, AROS 1XE, Tiny AROS, but you can be sure that Amiga developers, AROS developers, are developing AROS. They continue to develop AROS. It's a very active community. That's led to people creating their own AROS hardware. Well, they've used their own hardware and do-it-yourself AROS systems. Of course, what happens from then, you get people think, well, we can make some money out of this, we'll create AROS computers, and we can sell them. And I think the first, both in the same year, was Stephen Jones of the Checkmate Digital cases. He created the Amica. The way he said it, because he's from North London, it tried to sound like Amiga. So, fortunately the patent lawyers can't understand London accents, so it's not a problem, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he did produce a number of iMicas. The Amiga Silent, the Pro. He didn't sell many, and he doesn't do that anymore, right? The other one was Pascal Papara, a German developer, who created the Ares 1, which was while the Amiga was a small Intel board, the Ares 1 was a big, beefy tower, multi-booting with Linux and AROS. The Amiga was multi-booting, again, with Linux and AROS, or Icarus Desktop. The AROS 1 is still available to buy. The last version was in 2021, and it's supplied with Amiga Forever and crypto mining software. So Pascal has gone another route. He's trying to create you can mine by using his hardware. Fine. Armed and dangerous. Well, we all know about the rise of ARM-based hardware. That has led to a number of emulators for Amiga OS. Surprise, surprise. UAE for ARM was created by the same guy that did UAE for all. And actually, he created it for another product called the Amiga. And that's another, the Amiga, right? And it's no longer produced, but it was like a disk drive with the emulator. You put in your floppy disk and would run the game. That was the idea. It's one of the first FPGA type devices out there, the size of a single floppy disk drive. Yeah. So UA for ARM, Amiberry, Ambien, Pi Amiga, I'm sure there's loads more, because they keep coming up every day. And so there's the Amiga, there it is. You can see the floppy disk side was the other side, you put the thing in. It's given rise to the A500 Mini from Retro Games, which is a stylized, miniaturized Amiga 500 case with ARM-based hardware inside, powered by Amiberry. They don't say it's powered by Amiberry, it's powered by Amiberry. It comes bundled with 25 games. You can buy this today. As sold, you don't get access to the underlying operating system, but there are clever people that create a thing called a Mini Amiga, which is an OS you can put on it, which is basically Amiga OS. So it's good, right? And of course, the A600 GS from Amiga Kit, which you can buy over there. It's probably a more fully featured device, again based on ARM. It's Amiberry is the emulator. It's AmiBench on top. It includes some Eros components and a number of components from A-EON's OS4 software recompiled. And it's a pretty good product. You can go online with it. It does support Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all those things. Okay. But my pride and joy, because I'm biased, is the next generation. Right now, a little bit of history lesson to get us to where we get to. You see, you need to understand this. Most you do because you're all nuts like me, but some people don't. So it's nice to tell the story. Next generation PowerPC. Well, this dates back to David telling us stories today, that there was a move towards PowerPC accelerators by Phase 5, Commodore go bust, Phase 5 visualize a PowerPC Amiga future, Amiga Technologies visualize a PowerPC off software future using hardware developed by people like Phase 5, ESCOM go bust, Amiga Technology disappears, PIOS comes out, trying to create the next PowerPC Amiga. Same time, Phase 5 had this dream of a PowerPC Amiga. They compete on the forums, but they're competing because they both want to win the hearts and minds of us, right? Problems with who owns the code, can you get a license? PIOS moves to supporting, creating Mac clones, very successfully creating Mac clones. Eventually, unfortunately, Phase 5's go bust. Everyone knows that, they went bust. My Phase 5 accelerator went belly up 2 days before they went bust. I called the dealer in the UK. He said, "Oh, send it to Phase 5." I posted to Phase 5 the next day. The next day, Phase 5 went bust. I never saw it again.
Did it?
Anyway, these are the stories that we love to tell because it's horrible. So, what we got was the team at Phase 5 had been working on a software and hardware, and they thought, well, okay, we've done this work. Let's create our own new PowerPC device. We can't call it Amiga, but we'll call it something else. And that's how the Pegasus One came about. So you've got the ex-Phase 5 boys, B-Plan, some of the hardware people, and the MorphWise team, which were the software people for Phase 5, really. And they create the Pegasus One with funding from Genesi. Right? Shortly afterwards, the official, inverted commas, offering from the new Amiga company, which had been formed after Gateway sold the Amiga, or licensed the Amiga rights and sold the name to another company, right, called Amiga Inc. Bill McHugh, Felicity Moss. So there you are, you get two competing products. We had no Amigas for 5 years, 6 years, and suddenly two come along at the same time. It's a bit like buses, really, isn't it? And of course, over the next few years, Genesi produced they both had problems, by the way. They both used my technology, like Articia S Northbridge, which had real issues. And I would say Genesi B plan solved it by their April fixes, whereas unfortunately iTech, who are using reference boards from May, Teron PowerPC reference boards, modified for us, for the Amiga, it never really solved the problem on its Amiga ones, and you solved it by putting in external cards and ignoring the on board DMA because it just didn't work. Yeah. So the next couple of years we got the Effica from Genesi B plan, and you got the A1XE and the Micro A1C. A1XE had the same problems really as the first one. The Micro A1C didn't, but it still was limited and wasn't perfect. Again, it was a reference board from My Electronics. But what it did do, it led to the development of two PowerPC, competitive PowerPC operating systems, which were vying for the hearts and minds of us, the Amiga people. MorphOS and Amiga OS 4. MorphOS, the last version was released a couple of years ago. It was MorphOS, I'm going to find the number.
3.18.
Yeah, thank you, 3.18. And it's a very nice operating system. If you haven't tried it, it's worth trying. OS 4 was last one in 2020. An update 3's but currently being worked on at the moment. Don't know when it's going to be released. But two very nice PowerPC operating systems. When you use them, you feel like you're using an Amiga. It's really smooth, it's nice, it's clean, and it's. And I could go on all day about PowerPC, but never mind, I won't. That led to iTech and Genesi left the Amiga market probably 2005, 2006, and it was left to other people to fill the void. The first was a company called A-Cube in Italy. They formed a company just to create the SAM 440, and they brought out several models over the years. The 440 EP, the SAM Flex, or 440 Flex, and the SAM 460EX. You can still buy the SAM 460EX. Sometimes it's marketed as the Amiga 1500, but I don't think the current version is. Some stupid idiot decided to fund PowerPC motherboards. Matthew, I think it was. And there's been a series of motherboards from A-EON Technology. The first one was the Amiga 1X1000, 2010 started, released in beginning of 2012. The X1000, the X5020, X5040, and the more recent A1222 Plus, which we had some to sell, but they got sold, so sorry. A-EON also creates its own software to enhance the experience of OS4, which includes drivers, utilities, you name it. It's a really big package.
Linux port.
I'm going to go to that. And it also, you don't have a stride there, Alex. Yeah, so enhanced, so the current version is 2.2, 2.3 is in the works, being beta tested. All this hardware supports Linux, and because we have great volunteers, like we all have in the Amiga world, the developers, especially a guy called Christian Sagotsky, makes sure that our hardware is supported by the mainstream Linux kernel. So every kernel that comes out supports our X1000s and X5000s. So it's brilliant. And the Linux people kick out kernels like it's mad. It is. I mean, as soon as they pick one out, it's next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it never stops. Send in the clones, right? Clones. Now, a little bit of history. You all know it really, but a little bit of history. In 2005, Dennis van Weeren, Dutch Amiga enthusiast, actually embarked on a project to recreate the Amiga's custom chips in FPGA.
Yeah.
No one thought it could be done. And when he announced it, I think it was on amiga.org, no one believed him. They were like calling him a liar, which is strange. So he actually produced pictures and they thought they were fake. We're very trusting in the Amiga computer, right? But eventually, at one of the Dutch meetups, he had his prototypes And it was this thing, a whole bunch of stuff he bought, things he built, put together, and that was his first Amiga, FPGA. Eventually, he smartened it up and he came up with a design like that, the Minimig version 1, and he open sourced it. Anyone could build it. It was really good. Anyone could do it, right? And a few companies picked it up and produced the version 1.1, which is the version that was released. And the first company to actually produce the Minimig version 1.1 was A-Cube, but others have done it since. And these two people, you saw one today, that's Jens Schoenfeld on your right, and that's Dennis van Vieren on the left. Dennis no longer works on Amigas, but his FPGA work on the Amiga led to the work he does now for the company he works for. So it's amazing how this thing works out. And that was at a show this is really interesting, because that was a show in Italy where he was invited to go and present his Minimig prototype for an award, maybe get an award. He didn't win the award, something else won. But that was the first time that Jens Schoenfeld found out that Dennis had a Minimig. And Dennis was creating his own FPGAs. He was trying to recreate the whole of the Amiga chipset in FPGA, but really controlled based on all the timings, doing it really accurately. And that was in the Clone A. He had the C1 first, then Clone A. It never was realized, except it did. The Turbo Chameleon product that came out much later was based on that early work. And when he gave his presentation today, that was I was asking what's happening to that work he's doing with the custom chipset. But Jens does a lot more than that. He does accelerators, he does graphics, he does everything. So he's been, as he said, he started his business when Commodore went bust. What timing, right? But Minimigs evolved. There was a Swedish guy called Peter Zedlina. He decided to create a mini ITX version of the Minimig and add lots of new features. He even created a mini Minimig. But unfortunately, he was probably a student, had just come out of university, he wasn't married, he probably found girls and work, and then he stopped doing the work. But it was a really nice phase in the development of Minimig to prove that you can actually really develop and expand it. There's another crazy guy up in Canada who has gone one further with Minimig, and he started making Minimig 1.1s. He bought the machinery to make it all himself, the pick and place machine, and he started working on other things for the classic community. He made re-Amiga boards for the 1200 and other Amiga components, and 2 years ago he came out with version 1.9. Beautiful little machine. His latest version is Minimig version 1.98 ITX. Now I have to read this one because I didn't know this one. It's not in the book, this one. It got DIP 64 sockets, ARM controller, PyStorm compatibility, performance similar to an A600 with CPU speeds up to 40. Oh, that's the other one, sorry. It's a 6-layer gold-plated PCB, blah, blah, blah. 6800, near 60 megahertz. Again, it's PyStorm, kickstart caching, and can support the terrible fire accelerators. Well done. And its latest, the ITX version includes Wi-Fi headers, wireless connectivity to the Minimig ecosystem. So it's really developing these things. And you can buy these. They are available to buy. So if you want an advanced classic computer running Amiga OS Classic and having wireline connectivity without having your old Amiga hardware, you can do it today. But the ones that really have caught the imagination with most Amigans over the years, and other games players, are the Mist and Misters. So I'd straight that Mist and Misters. So Till Harbone created the Mist, and he was actually an ST. Sorry, Chris, he was an ST guy. First. So he created the Mist. It was supposed to be ST for ST. But eventually he found it easier to emulate the Amiga. So he did that first, and he did the ST afterwards. But now this is available today to buy from various. Again, it's open sourced, so other people make it, and you can emulate almost any computer on it, any retro computer, or yeah, it's crazy. It really is crazy. Alex Melnikov, a Russian, went one further with the MiSTer. They were both inspired by the Mini-MiG. They were inspired by the Mini-MiG. And this one is it's based on a DE Nano 10, I guess. Is that the right word? But you can add lots of other things to it and get a little tower like that. Again, it's open source. You can do it yourself. But a number of small manufacturers, small companies have created their own. And you can see 4 or 5 companies selling these all around the world at various price points, depending on how many levels you want there, how much support you want. But really, really good. And I don't think I saw any misters or miss at the show today. One, okay, good. I did see one of Ranco's boards, one of the 1.9 mini-MiGs. Yep, excellent. Of course, you know, the one that is quite interesting as well, again, someone else wanted to recreate all the Amiga custom chips in FPGA, and it started a lot earlier. And he wanted to create a native Amiga computer called NatAmi. So unfortunately, it never came to fruition, but it created, and the guy's name was, come on, what was the guy's name? Anyone know? I should know, but I don't. So there we are.
He was hoping for a veil.
Thomas Hirsch, that was the guy, Thomas Hirsch. And he actually met a bunch of guys. He was typical Amiga, and he loved the Amiga. He wanted to recreate the Amiga. He started working for IBM in the PowerPC division. So and he met another 3 or 4 people who were all Amiga freaks in the PowerPC division. They didn't know this, but at lunchtime they'd have lunch together and start talking about real computers, the Amiga. So they're working on the really powerful PowerPC processors, CPUs, for IBM. They're all talking about Amigas, how wonderful it was and how much better it is. Anyway, they decided to do the native Amiga, and they came across with clones, and from this, the Apollo group evolved. The NatAmi never got commercial. It was a number of prototypes. It was all funded by Thomas Hirsch. When he decided that, look, I've got a life, I've got a family, I can't keep putting money into this, it all stopped. So, yeah. But it did lead to an association with who took the lead with developing a Vampire accelerator. It was the first FPGA accelerator for A600. And he wasn't an Amiga, and he knew nothing about the Amiga. But he got a whole, probably because it was in Bosnia, he had a whole bunch of A600s, and he started wrecking them, trying to create an FPGA accelerator. And it took him 3 years, and he eventually did create the fastest 68K FPGA accelerator in the world at the time. Right? But he never really got over some of the problems. When the NatAmi group disbanded, they created the CPU in FPGA, and they called it 68050. And then they did a few tweaks, and they called it 68080. But basically, the FPGA of a 68K CPU. They worked together with MiSTer and created Vampire V2 with bigger FPGAs, chips on board, and worked together. And so that you've got a whole bunch of Vampire V2 accelerators for the 5000, the 1200, for the 600, all based on the original concept and idea of Masterovich. But with the FPGA CPU based on the Apollo CPU. That led to the Vampire V4 standalone. Is any here today? No, Vampire V4. No, okay.
There's one in the raffle, right?
There's one in the raffle, okay? Which is a very small, self-contained. Well, it's called a Vampire V2. It's obviously an Amiga clone. and some V4 accelerators for the A500, 1000, 2000 and the 1200. So these are accelerators based on the Apollo FPGA core, their 68080 CPU. Unfortunately, after that, Masters decided to focus on Vampire V2s independently, while the Apollo team released V5 accelerators for the Amiga and 68K machines. They went their separate ways. It wasn't a happy parting, but they both contribute to the industry and to the Amiga scene, so I'm not going to say any more about that. What's been a real bonus for Amigans is crowdfunding. And a number of Amigans have used crowdfunding to fund their projects, to take the risk out of funding their projects. Matthew, we could do that. Crowdfunding has become an essential tool for Amiga community, tapping into the platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Amiga retro computing enthusiasts have successfully launched and funded a variety of hardware and software products. Cases, keyboards, retro consoles, games, books. They've all benefited from the trend of using crowdfunding. Bill Bazzari's 2015 Amiga 30th celebrations, banquet and the show was partly or mainly funded by crowdfunding, by Kickstarter. Is that correct, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Even David Pleasance used Kickstarter to fund the first volume of Vampire's book. He thought it was going to be one volume for volume 1 of the Vampire's book. The rest was from sales. There are there's too many community projects to talk about. I've walked around now, there's enough I've seen today for another book. I'm not writing it, okay?
He'll write it.
He'll write it. You heard it here. He'll write it.
So, and not only that, we've got people recreating classic Amiga boards. And there's a group of people that they go to they get a board, have it sanded down, and they recreate all the traces and rebuilt up and spend lots of money doing it. And then they put it open source, and companies then build them. And, well, you can build it yourself, just buy the board. I couldn't do that because I haven't got the skill. But the companies that will sell you a new Amiga 4000 motherboard or a new 500 board. And many innovators are working to do that. One of the first was Paul Resendez. Is Paul here? Yay, Paul! Yeah. He got some funding, but probably funded most of it himself to recreate the A4000 board. And there are people making A4000s, new A4000s, from the boards that he created. Well done, Paul. John Hurtle, he does a lot of re-Amiga boards for the 3000, for the, well, I can't remember, there's lots of them anyway. Yeah, he's done loads, and for A360 Accelerate, everything he's done. This group's crazy. And then you've got Floppy, I couldn't find his name. Even in the book, he's Floppy 209. I hope it's not a medical condition. Yeah, and it's amazing what the people are doing. And they all open source them, which is the great thing about it. And it allows other people to build them, either buy a built system or create themselves. And there's some of the re-Amiga boards there. There's a 4000 there, I guess. 2000. Is that 3000? And a 1200? Anyway, whatever. Re-Amiga boards. Brand new Amiga boards. It's not new. I mean, there's a guy in Spain, Mr. Fidis, who recreated the Amiga 1000 with help from Eduardo Arana. What's his name? Someone tell me? Edu.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. And they recreated it, but they tend to keep it within their club. So they fund it in their club, and if there's any excess, they'll sell it all around the world. But generally, it stays within their club. But creating new boards is not new, really. There was the Phoenix board for the A1000 way back. But it is good that we're doing that. And people are creating new accelerators. They're also doing that. One that I quite, and I can't mention everyone because there's just too many, right? But one I quite like is the three. I call them the Three Sisters. Way back in Switzerland, an anonymous Mr. A, doesn't like publicity, started developing a living room board that would be small and would be wife or partner friendly, or husband and partner friendly. I'm trying to be, on both sides. And so he created what was called the AMI ITX, which was an ITX version, or a modern ITX version of an Amiga using custom chipsets. So, and it includes accelerators, includes Wi-Fi, internet, includes RAM, all these things you put onto it. And I thought that was it. And then he refined it and created Denise, an improved version. I just found out a couple of weeks back, he created Lisa, a new version of it. And these are all small runs of boards for their group, for their team, which people can buy when they have enough, orders in. I think I funded the Denise one. I helped to fund that one because I was really keen on what they were doing. I thought it was really good to create a mini ITX motherboard, modern Amiga motherboard, but using all the old stuff. It was great. I thought it was really good. So, but the thing is, there's so many things. Oh, I can't miss out the Pi Storm, which has taken the Amiga community by storm. The classic Amiga community loves the Pi Storm. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a carrier board. You remove the CPU, you put the carrier board in the CPU place, and you put a Raspberry Pi on top, and it gives you all the features of the Raspberry Pi. It acts as an accelerator, but it's got so many other things. So, and the software is developing all the time. So this is selling. I mean, is this one of your most popular?
Definitely.
Yeah, Pi Storm. And again, he open sourced it, so people can create their own carrier boards, Pi Storm carrier boards, and sell them. Because not everyone can solder. I certainly can't solder to that level, sorry. But we do a world of innovation. I mean, the Amiga community continues to innovate with projects like multifunctional ZZ9000 graphics card, which is more than a graphics card, as we know. It's got everything on it. It's from an MNT in Germany. The ARM-based Buffy drop-in board, for replacement for accelerator for a CPU by Rennie Cousins. A range of open source Terrible Fire accelerators from Stephen Leary. CS Labs Warp Engine accelerators for the Amiga 500 and 1200. There's even Michael Spindler's Akiko 32 portable classic Amiga laptop. And Hans de Ruyter's A1222 do-it-yourself laptop. There's just so many things going on, so many developments that it's hard to keep up, it really is. When I sat down to plan this talk, I said it turned quickly into a really long presentation. I've tried to keep it as short as possible. There's just so much happening in our Amiga world, it's hard to keep up. So I'm definitely not writing another book because it's too difficult, there's too much going on. If you're curious to know all the amazing developments and people shaping our Amiga community, the Vultures and Vampires trilogy, and this is a really not a plug for the book, it's more about the information in there that I managed to put together is a real resource of information. It's worth having just for that. So what is an Amiga in 2020? After all that, what is an Amiga, right? I think Harrison had it right. It still is an Amiga world, right? Is it a souped up 68K running classic Amiga OS? Or is it a custom built next generation PowerPC machine? Running Amiga OS 4 or MorphOS. Maybe it's an Aeros powered PC or a cycle accurate liquid silicon FPGA clone. Could it be a 68K emulation on ARM or Windows? One thing's for clear, talented Amigans are still pushing the platform forward, developing new hardware and software for our beloved machine. Whether it's a classic 68K inspired Vampire board, community-driven projects like Denise or Lisa, or powerful PowerPC systems from A-EON or A-Cube, the Amiga spirit endures in all its forms. But the Amiga is more than hardware and software, or even legal disputes and IP challenges. It's the collective passion of the community, enthusiasts, developers, companies, who continue to pour time, energy and funds in keeping the Amiga dream alive. What began as a computer platform has evolved into a broader movement, embracing classic enthusiasts, next-generation hardware developers, software innovators, and a community that remains deeply passionate and inventive. In 2024, the Amiga scene is more vibrant, diverse, and complex than ever, a testament to its enduring legacy and the commitment of its community. Ultimately, what defines an Amiga today isn't just the technology. It's the enduring legacy. It's the enduring spirit of the users, the dedicated developers, and the entire community. We, the Amiga enthusiasts, are the heart of what makes Amiga so great. We are Amiga. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your commitments, and always have, and your participation in our gathering here every year. And I think you and Matthew and many of you are our supporters, and the reason why we are still here. You know, the idea originally in 1998, our 2 Amiga stores in Sacramento had just closed, and the club said, John Zacharias and the committee said, well, let's do a show and have a big Amiga store every year. So, and we were really primed for somebody to come along and buy it and make another company and keep on trucking. Well, we've kept on trucking. Hasn't been because of a company though; it's been because of all of us. So thank you very much, and we'll see you at the show tomorrow and at the party tonight, which I think is it in this room.
I think probably this room.
This room, okay.
Yeah, well, I think they get upset with so many people at the front.
Oh, well, that's true, because they couldn't talk on the phone at midnight. So, thank you very much, and have a good party. I'll be there too, and see you tomorrow for the show.
People gathering here.
Yeah.
Thank you.